Hi, everybody. This is Professor Whitman again. I wanted to give you a little orientation to cases. We will have 4 cases in class, PepsiCo, Subway, Magformers, and Chase Sapphire. These are all real companies, real issues, little snapshots in time for each one. And we're going to start kicking them off in about week 4. And there's 2 pieces to each case. And I will go over that with you here in a second. But I wanted to let you know that the second part of each assignment is a case analysis with a team. And you have been assigned teams, and that is listed in the checklist along with appropriate email addresses so that you can get together with your team, email. I have also set up discussion boards within D2L that you can, each team, it's unique to each team, and they can talk asynchronously that way. I recommend that if you can, to try to get together synchronously at least once on these cases. It's very helpful to hear other people's ideas and inputs in real time. And then finally, that's really important for your Chase Sapphire case. It serves as your final in this class. And so together you will be completing the second piece of that assignment together with your team. And I'll go into more detail with that. So as I said, there's 2 pieces to the assignment. There's the big ideas memo, and this is the part that you do yourself. You read the case and you identify those important issues, find out those things that really stick in your mind. Try to determine, what are your thoughts on why that problem exists? And then when using what you've learned, identify possible solutions. So the first part of the assignment is you just reading the case. Read through the case, digest it, put your first initial thoughts down, and then you're going to turn that in as your big ideas memo. The big ideas memo is an individual assignment. However, if you want to chat with your teammates about it, that's fine, but everyone has to turn that one in individually. The second part of the assignment, which happens a week later, is the big team analysis of the case. Now, there is a reason why I spaced them out, because reading cases, I know it's tempting to just read it once quickly and be done with it, but it really does help. You really should be reading them twice. Read it first, just one time on your own, just to get the lay of the land, figure out what the big issues are, your initial thoughts, that kind of thing, and then read it again after you've let a few days pass perhaps, and then debate it with your teammates, what the major issues are. They may have identified different things than you did. And then they may have identified different solutions than you did. And then together you might come up with even different solutions or ideas and that kind of thing. And that's the whole point of this process, is to take what you've learned in class and apply it to these cases. And the reason why I don't make them all 100% individual assignments is because we broaden our horizons a little bit when we open ourselves up to other people's inputs and ideas. Normally, I would teach these as live classes. However, I'm cognizant of the fact that mandatory live classes don't work for everybody. And you really do need to have a full class participating in these live case discussions. So I've tried to do the next best thing, which is to kind of take those discussions offline with the teams so that you can really hash these cases out, since we can't really do it in a live class. And then I want you to just apply what you've learned. And I think they're a really fun way to get a lot more out of the textbook reading and some of the other assignments in class that you wouldn't get if you weren't able to apply it to a real world scenario, which is why we picked real world cases. So again, just to reiterate, step 1, that's a solo project, that's by yourself. If you want to chat with your teammates about it, I have no problem with that, whatever helps you, but I do want to see individual work for that big ideas memo. In other words, I don't want to see the same memo for every member of the team, and certainly everyone needs to turn in an assignment for themselves. And this is just where you're kind of wrapping your head around the case. Each checklist has questions specific to the case, so make sure you're looking at those as you're reading through and you're analyzing. And then step 2 with your team The following week, you're going to really dig into this. You're going to go back into the case. You're going to tear it apart. And you're going to you're going to tell your classmates the things that you felt were important to you. They may agree, they may have different ideas. And that's where the discussion begins. And that's where it gets fun. And then together as a team, I want you to analyze it and come up with solutions, why you think things happen, ways they might be able to mitigate it, and answer those questions that are outlined in the checklist. So I hope you have fun with this. Again, I have those discussion boards set up to facilitate asynchronous discussion. You're not required to use them. You are free to use whatever methodology works for you in discussing these cases, but it is a resource for you. And students, I believe, can also set up Zoom meetings amongst themselves if you wanted to have a synchronous meeting, because I know that folks are located all over the country. So whatever works for your team. So that's it on cases. If you have any questions, oh, one other thing, I forgot, there is a website link in the checklist that goes through this in more detail if you would like a reference tool as you're going through the cases. But if you have any questions, let me know. Take care.